Now, today I have a classic and an old English folk tale to tell you, and it's a folk tale called The Three Sillies. Now, you may have heard this folk tale, very good one. Now, once upon a time, there was a farmer, and he had a wife and a daughter, a dossier in Anglo-Saxon, and they lived in a small village, Villani in Saxon, Old English, and the daughter was, well, they're seeing a young Saxon warrior, and they've been seeing each other for some time. And our young Saxon warrior, well, he had a habit of every night going round for supper to eat some dinner with them. So every night he went round, and they lived in a mighty big long house. And this long house was unusual because it had a cellar. Not many did. Many houses had a pit under the house, but not many houses had a cellar, for cellars were often known to flood. Now, they've been eating and they've been drinking, and they've been drinking some mead, but they were running out. They had a large jug of mead and it was about empty. So the farmer sent his daughter down and said, "You must go and get some mead for our guest who you want to marry in the future." So she did this. She went down the stairs, and in the cellar they had some chests, of course, where they stored things, and they had some big barrels. Now our farmer, well, he had a bit of land and he had a bit of silver and a bit of coin like this, but a lot more of it, and he could afford wine, cider and mead, and he had many barrels, and the barrels were tapped, so you could pour out your drink, get a jug's worth and go back up the cellar stairs. And she went to the big barrel of mead, and she was pouring, the daughter, the dossier was pouring the mead out, but suddenly she looked up at the beams, and what did she see? Well, she saw this big axe, bigger than this one, stuck in the rafters at the top. And she thought this to be most strange, for she has often been down the cellar, but yet she had never seen this axe stuck, and this axe was rusty and had all cobwebs all over it. And she suddenly had a thought, and a crazy thought for most people like yourself and I, that what if she got married to this young warrior, this young Saxon man, who was wanting to marry the farmer and farmer's wife's daughter? What if they got married and they had a child, and many years from now, in 15 years or maybe 14, the farmer's, the grandson of the farmer and the son of the farmer's daughter and this young man, what if he went downstairs and looked at the axe, and the axe fell and hurt him and split his head and killed him? Well, at this immediate thought, she started to cry, and she started to cry and cry, and she stayed down there crying, so upset she could not move in shock. Well, some time passed, and the farmer's wife, well, she thought, what's going on? Where's the drink? Where's the mead? I'm getting thirsty, and my husband is getting impatient. We have a guest. So she decided to go downstairs. So she went down the stairs to the cellar, and she saw the daughter down there was crying. And she asked, "What's going on? What's the matter with you?" And she explained the axe. She saw up there the old rusty axe in the top of the beams, like this one. And she said, "What if, I got married to this young Saxon warrior, we had a child, and in 15 years' time, he came down the cellar for some mead, and, well, he got struck by the axe in the head and killed him." And at this immediate thought, the farmer's wife started to cry. And they was both down there bawling their eyes out and crying. I can't do a crying impression. You need Eggle for that. And, they was crying. And then some time passed yet again, and the sun was starting to set. And that was often the time in those times to go to bed. For in the morning you'll get up at the dawn and use all of the daylight. Oh yes. Now, as I lose my thread, the farmers noticed that some time had gone. And of course time to them was in day and night. And he got a bit wondering what happened, a bit curious, so he decided to go down the cellar. And he got down the cellar, and of course he saw his wife and his daughter, his daughter, crying. And he asked, "What's going on? Why are you two down here crying?" He shook his fist. And the daughter explained about the young Saxon warrior, and they got married on the axe and killing their supposed child in 15 years' time. And then he started to cry. Well, some time passed. All three of them were crying, the father and his wife and his daughter. And the guest, the young Saxon warrior, who at this point and in this tale will remain nameless. Well, he started to get curious. "What is going on?" he said. "I'm going to go down and find out." He was a man of action. He was a warrior. He got things done. So he went down the cellar and he saw the three of them down there crying. He said, "What on the nine worlds is going on?" Or in earth, if you are Christian. And they explained about the axe and possibly hitting in 15 years his son's head. And he said, "I've never seen or met three sillier people, and I refuse," as he pointed at the farmer, "to marry your daughter until I meet three more sillier people." Well, they laughed and carried on crying, and the next day came. Of course, our Saxon warrior lived in his own house with his parents, his mother and father, and he set off. He had a nice bag with some food, he had some decent boots, and he set off with a shield by his side and a good sword to meet and find three sillier people. Well, he marched for some time, and he kept on marching, and he came to a longhouse. But this longhouse was a bit unusual, for it had a turf roof made of turf grass, and there was an old farmer there, a very old farmer in those days, and you're trying to get this cow to climb up a ladder to go on the roof to graze. And our young warrior, Saxon warrior, said, "What on earth are you doing?" He said, "Oh, I'm trying to get this cow here to go up on this roof to eat the grass like." He said, "I've never met anybody as silly as this." He said, "Why don't you go on the roof yourself and with a scythe cut the grass and then throw it down for the cow?" I said, "Oh no." I said, "No, I can't do that, youth." He said, the cow can cut their own grass, and I must get that cow up there. And when I get the cow up there, I'm going to get a rope and I'm going to tie it to its leg. I'm going to pass it down my chimney, for this farmhouse had a very old stone chimney. And, I'm going to tie it to my wrist," he said. And he did this. Eventually he pushed the cow up the ladder, and it's a big cow, on top of the roof. And the cow was grazing. And suddenly the roof came in. There was a big hoo-ha, a massive crash, and the cow came through the roof, but fell off the side as well at the same time, and landed outside of the longhouse, luckily. But the rope was around its neck, as got twisted and strangled it. And the old farmer, well, he got dragged up the chimney. And, well, this Saxon man, our hero, you could say, of this story, helped the man down. But of course the cow was dead. And he said, "I'm going, you can bury your cow." And he went off. And it was getting nice, he set camp. He had a nice cloak so he could cover himself up and had a fire. And the next morning he went off on his way again. Well, he's been marching for a few days, and his leather boots were getting a bit worn, but they were still quite good. They had a lot of miles left in them yet, well, in this case leagues. And, well, he came to a tree. And in the distance was a farmhouse, and there was this man. And he had his trousers, his breeches, or skitter, and he had tied them to the tree. And he had some logs which were being sawn up. And he was trying to jump into the trousers. And our hero, this Saxon man, went up to him and said, "What on the earth are you trying to do?" He said, "Oh, I'm trying to get into my trousers there, youth." He said, "Well, don't you just put one like normal people? No, this is the way you got to put trousers on. Do you not know this?" And the Saxon looked at him puzzled, and at the same time, this crazy man was trying to jump into his trousers. which were attached with ropes. He said, that's not how you, you put trousers on, or pants as you Americans may call them. And he got his knife, he cut the ropes of the 4 trousers and said, you lie down there, you get on the floor. And he put the trousers on for him. And this crazy fool, he said, oh, I've never known about this. This is all new to me, putting trousers on that way. And he said, I've never met anybody as silly as you. And I'm going to leave you with your trousers. And I must insist that you put trousers on that way in the future. And he went off on his way. Did our Saxon man, looking for one more silly person to match and to rival the 3 Sillies, of which one of them, the daughter, the dossier, he was going to marry. Well, he's been off some time, and he came to a village, and a village he'd never been before. And this village had a road, but quite strangely, it had another road going off. And in the triangle of these 2 roads where they met, and there was a gap of land, there was a pond. And surrounded the pond were long houses and a blacksmith and all the traditional crafts going on that you would expect in the times of the Saxons. But in the pond were all the locals, all the villagers, and they was all jumping around in the pond, bashing their feet down and doing crazy things. One had a club, he was clubbing away, another one had his sword out, thrashing the water. And our young Saxon man, well, he went up to these people and he said, what are you doing? He said, I've seen some strange things today, but this is by far the strangest. And one of the locals, he said, oh, we're trying to kill some eels, drown them. He said, you what? He said, we're trying to drown the eels. He said, whoa, said the man, the Saxon, I've never seen anything like this, and you are the last of the 3 Sillies. And at this point, he knew that he had to go back, and he did this. He marched back for a couple of days until he came to the village he grew up, and he married the farmer's daughter, even though she was at times a bit silly. And they lived happily ever after. And that is the end of this English folk tale. Now, I hope you enjoy it. If you want to see some more English folk tales, I urge you to go and click this card up there. And if I remember to put the card there, you'll see it. And if not, please then leave me a comment in the comment section about it. And don't forget to go and leave a comment too. We love your comments here. And it's goodbye from me. Was hail, good health.